I mean, I was a jazz musician a long time before I was a philosopher, and I didn't know anything about philosophy. I studied music in Berklee College of Music in Boston. When I came back, I needed to have a base in London. I had a deferred place to study economics in London, and I ended up going there, not liking economics very much, and swapping to philosophy. So in a way, the music came first, and then over the years, as I sort of got drawn more into the philosophy thing, I started I was recording independently produced albums. I did this sort of over a course of about 10 years, made 4 of these, and we were increasingly trying to I was increasingly trying to add some of the philosophy I was doing into the music, because a different angle, I guess, it was something different to do. And I got more and more interested in this as I got more and more interested in philosophy.
You were an ardent soul, Empedocles, you were such an ardent soul. You went and jumped into Mount Etna, baby, you got roasted whole.
Eventually, I was told about this fellowship the Adrian Piper Research Organisation in Berlin has, called the Multidisciplinary Fellowship. She's a conceptual artist, a very well-known conceptual artist. Kind of see her videos and stuff in most galleries. She was big in the 60s and sort of ever since. But she became a philosopher, and she's now a professor of philosophy. And she has this strong view that pursuing an academic career shouldn't mean giving up on artistic aspirations, which, given her biography, makes a lot of sense. So she has this thing, the interdisciplinary scholarship for people who combine their academic studies with some sort of artistic endeavour. And I think everybody who's been a fellow on this scheme before has been some sort of visual artist, so this is the first time for this, but I thought, wow, this is really exactly what I've been doing before, so I put an application in, got the fellowship, and that gave me the funding to get together some really good musicians and to have a devoted project of it, of mixing jazz with philosophy. Produced our first album, Jazz Philosophy Fusion. Obviously my biography as a sort of jazz musician and then a philosopher sort of makes me want to mix the two. But also I think that there's a lot of overlap. I mean, lots of jazz musicians have been interested in philosophy, maybe more religiously inspired, but not always. And I also think there's an important performance element in philosophy. And what really motivates me to do it most of all is the fact that I think that philosophy as a discipline has become far too insular. And I think that's to do with the fact that we live in a culture where, which is intellectually dominated by science. And I think at the moment, with lots of newly emerging technologies, we need philosophical reflection on, where humanity wants to take these technologies. And I think that the discipline of philosophy as it stands, institutionally secure as it might be, is completely incapable of taking that role. So I think to try and realign philosophy with its traditional roots in the arts and humanities, and what more obvious way of doing it than actually performing it as music, I think is a step in the right direction. So in a way, that's what really enthuses me about it conceptually, apart from the fact that, as a jazz musician, this is a good way of me sort of continuing what I want to do.
And take me seriously, I'm gonna leave it like you. I know what you want from me. I have been stuck with the blog and I'm in business now.
reasons I was saying just now about, you know, thinking that philosophy needs to have a different voice, have some kind of public voice. I want to expand this. So what I'm planning now is to, I'm putting in a grant application at the moment in order to try and put on a large-scale performance philosophy event, not just with my band, with lots of others, you know, in a major venue in London, and also taking on some sort of European tour, play at various art centres to get these ideas around, and, you know, get people used to the idea of, you know, philosophy in a performance setting. Well, on the jazz, it's been absolutely excellent. So we do this survey. We get people to fill in. They can sort of do it on their mobile phones in the interval, right? So they comment on their views on philosophical issues before they hear the composition, and then afterwards. And we've had some really good, you know, changes. I know on some issues, like 40. On one issue, for instance, 48% of people change their mind over the course of 5 minutes. I think that's pretty good. In a sense, I could not do anything in music, and I could write articles about the stuff which I'm interested in, and I could get along fine. But given my, you know, I don't think philosophy should be like that. I don't think it ever was in the past, and I don't think it should be like that now. So in a way, although the public engagement doesn't change, well, obviously it changes the research I'm doing to the extent that I'm performing it musically, right? Okay, I mean that's all motivated by that. But although it doesn't change the philosophical ideas, it does change the way I present them, and I'm trying to write and produce things which I think could engage people. I don't think that involves reducing the content in any way. I don't think that means dumbing down. I don't think it needs to. I think lots of philosophers just don't think about presentation and just aren't concerned with that, and of course that's why nobody listens to them. And I think you can present, you know, the proper real thing, and you can put original ideas out there in a format which people might actually find interesting. And this is what I'm trying to do with lots of things I'm doing. I mean, my book earlier this year, lots of the publishers were saying, well, is this aimed at the general public, or is this, you know, a professional monograph? And it's both. You know, I don't see any reason for that. I mean, obviously, if you don't have a background in philosophy, some of the more involved discussions are going to fly over your head to a certain extent. But, you know, some intellectuals are very popular, even though people can't possibly understand all the references which are being made. And also in these edited collections, I've got one which has just come out in the last few days. And what I've done is I've reduced the length of the papers. I've covered lots of interesting figures from the history of philosophy, and I just asked the question, what would these great figures have said about the contemporary problem of consciousness? You know, and here my concern was like, well, people talk a lot about the history of philosophy. Why are they talking about the history of philosophy? Right, okay, is this just a historical curiosity? Fine, okay, but, you know, surely the reason for discussing these you know, great dead philosophers must be that they have something to say to us now. So let's actually try directly applying it. So, you know, I've got 32, you know, different philosophers together, and we deal with, like, from the ancient Greeks through ancient China and India, going right up to the present day, asking what these people would say about this. It's a sort of unusual thing to do, and also the length of the articles, I think, makes it accessible. But I don't see any reduction in the academic seriousness of it just because I'm making some effort to present to the public. Because I just think it's crucially important that, you know, philosophy gets an image that fits with the 21st century. And one of the things for me working it out was working out how to do that. I mean, I just sort of describe it sounds very simple, but it took me sort of 10 years over various albums to work out a method of incorporating the philosophy, and lots of trial and error before we actually got there. Effectively, you have a song sung by Jessica, and that will, you know, the lyrics are about philosophy. The lyrics can be about anything, you know, usually they're about love or sadness or whatever. There doesn't have to be something that simple, so, you know, they have the lyrics about philosophy. Then we go into the improvised solos, just like any jazz performance would, but we have an actress, Sonia Morgenstern, and then she performs these parts that we work out, and these explore different perspectives which you can have on the philosophical problem. And of course, she's quite a performer, so it's an exciting thing to see. You know, she gets worked up and like, no, I can't understand this. I won't accept that. No.
I'm not finding your tone very helpful here. Have you got a problem with me? You'd better adjust your attitude or else get used to watching your back. That's That's right, that's right. If we move now, we can close it and you'll have all the main things that you were looking for. Yes, yes. Okay, I can do that. Great. Yeah, of course, I'll close the deal. You won't regret this, Ted. Lovely. Bye!